So we're going to talk about Chelsea from White Lotus. What I do here, right, is teach women how to do shadow work, teach women how to take their shadow goddess journey, right? Go through the darkness so that you don't end up in a predicament like this. If you are into White Lotus and you haven't watched the finale, please skip this because spoiler alert immediately underway. Okay? So, what I do is teach women how to look at themselves, how to investigate, how to probe thought, how to probe triggers within yourself, right? So that you can control your emotions, become emotionally intelligent, so that you can make wise, savvy, smart decision like any powerful woman would, and so that you become accountable and responsible for your life, understanding that you are in control of it, and also understanding your own motives. A lot of times our motives are hidden from us, right? And though we think that we have a good plan for the person we have in mind, it's not a noble plan if they are not on board with it and if your goals aren't the same, right? So this is Chelsea. She's a sweetheart, right? I get so frustrated with women that sometimes I do hyper focus with intention on women because women are powerful beings and they pretend that they are not. And we have to stop doing this, right? So Chelsea is a character from the White Lotus show, and this show is so well written. It's scary. But she's with an older man who is very much on a revenge tour for a man he think harmed his father and ruined his childhood, right? Here come Chelsea, right? A spiritual woman with her own motives, which they sort of highlight and bring up through the man, Rick. I think his name was Rick. Through him, they sort of highlight what her ulterior motives as well, right? So a lot of the times women, we come to into relationships with men with all of these plans, right? With we see a broken thing and we try to heal it. We think it's our job to heal it. Part of this is who we are because we're nurturing. Part of this is conditioning, right? Women are being taught that we have to be a sacrifice, and men are more than willing to allow you to sacrifice your own life in every way, including the ultimate sacrifice, which is what she experienced, losing her life trying to save a man who did not want to be saved, right? She was the voice of reason that he was not trying to hear the entire time. He made it clear that he did not like her, that he did not love her, but he was energetically siphoning off of him, right? I take this point of view because women have to go deeper than just blaming men, right? And there are plenty of people who are showing you how terrible men are and all of the things to avoid, but you need to know how to do that without becoming a martyr, without becoming a sacrifice, and most of all, so that you can understand your own motives, right? Ultimately, Chelsea had her own motives, and it wasn't just to help him, right? Part of her motives was to help him, but her larger motive as well, I won't say larger, I'll just say another motive for her was that she is in a foreign country, she's in a beautiful island, and he is flipping the bill for it. Let's be honest about this, right? And he mentioned this in the show. He was very bitter, very angry. Women have to understand that just because your motives for a relationship with a man may be a little bit more noble, more morale based than his, maybe you want to she wanted to be with him forever, right? With a man who was talking down to her, who was talking crazy to her. This is what I mean when I tell women you are in your own reality, right? How would Chelsea be in love with a man who was so mean and nasty and rude to her? Because she's in her own reality and she's basing her relationship with him off of her own fairy tale, her own motives. It doesn't matter how pure your motives is. It doesn't matter if you want to fix him if he does not want to be fixed. Okay? The moment he tells you, he shows you even better. If you want to operate like a goddess, if you want to operate like a powerful woman, your intuition needs to be so in tune that you don't even get here, right? Had she listened to her intuition while also balancing wanting him to flip the bill, she would let him run around in Bangkok. She would let him run around on all the fool's goals missions that he had, and she would be at the resort having fun, minding her business, having fun. But she wants to be a martyr, right? She wants to be the savior of him, like so many of us have done, right? Trying to save men that do not want to be saved because they're emotional. As much as men say women are emotional, they are just as emotional, maybe even more than women are, because they aren't in control of their emotions, right? She was his wisdom. She was the guide the entire time. Everything she said to him was correct. And she would have been a good woman for him, but you have to know when to leave, and you always leave before the party is over. And she did not do that, and it cost her her life. Just because you have more positive motives for a relationship with a man, if your goals and his goals are not aligned, it becomes part of your fault if you continue to make decisions to keep you in this situation trying to save him, because you have to look inward. As a woman, you have to look inward and see what your motives are. Chelsea obviously had other motives that were outside of wanting to save him, right? Because how much do you sacrifice of yourself to save someone else who is making it very clear in words and in actions that he wants nothing to do with your help? You have a motive that you are not being honest about with yourself that keeps you there and ultimately ends up in your own demise, right? You don't want to be friends with women like this. And if you are, you want to keep a distance. And I don't say that because I think Chelsea is not a good person. I think Chelsea was a beautiful person. I think Chelsea was a super spiritual person. She was a tapped in person. But she also had her own things keeping her with a man who did not respect or honor her wishes. Now, if you're going to choose to deal with a divine with the masculine, right? Because we're not speaking about the divine right now, because that man was anything but divine. You have to know when to let men be men and stop trying to tell them what to do. They're not going to listen whether you're right or wrong. But I do want to emphasize the fact that self-sacrifice is always a choice, right? Chelsea self-sacrificed. And the minute he told her that he didn't want her around, he was so annoyed by her presence, and they filmed this show so well, I was starting to get annoyed with her, right? Her little buck teeth, I was starting to get annoyed with her, because it's like, ma'am, he does not want your help. You are going to harm yourself. And I knew this was going to happen, which is why I was so irritated with her. And the reason why I have to go into the darkness from time to time. And this show for me highlighted this, especially particularly with her, because from the very beginning, she was clearly trying to help him spiritually, and he was not trying to hear it. And every time you do that, you end up sacrificing yourself in some way or another. And in her case, the ultimate sacrifice, when you continue to ignore what you know is true. That man left her at the resort by herself for 2 days and went to Bangkok, which is not an easy journey from islands like this in Thailand, right? You have to take a boat and from the boat, you probably got to take a car to the airport to get to, you know, Bangkok, right? Because Bangkok is not close to Phi Island, to like, not Phi, but like the different islands in Thailand, like they were. Bangkok is not close. Bangkok is the city. Women you have to understand this, because it is your response. Your life is your responsibility. She did not have to lose her life had she had she listened to what she knew what he was doing was dangerous. She was telling them he knew it. He did not care. That is your responsibility as a woman. And at some point, women have to get out of this victim mindset. Your motives for a relationship is not pure because it's more positive. If that man is not in alignment with your goals, you are still selfish, no matter how pure you think your motives are. Remember that the next time you stay, instead of leaving before the party is over.